Well, there are new developments in the investigation into the death of Gene Hackman and his wife.
Let's get some more. Here's our entertainment editor, Peter Ford. Hi, Pete. What's happened now?
Well, two things going on today. Firstly, the will. Now, the way the will was structured was quite interesting, actually. It said very clearly, if she goes first, he is the beneficiary of everything. If he goes first, she is the beneficiary of everything. Now, that's fairly standard, but of course the complication here is because they died under very odd circumstances, but there was also a clause that if they died within 90 days of each other, that will be considered a simultaneous death. So in which case, it's possible his children, who it would seem he left nothing to originally in the will, but by default, because the way the will was structured, they may now in fact be coming into a lot of money. Now, needless to say, all the parties involved in this are all getting lawyered up, and they obviously believe, you know, where there's a will, there's a relative, right? Even though there does seem to be very strong indication that there was not a lot of regular ongoing contact between the three children and Gene Hackman. Now, the other story that's going on today is the estate had sought a court order, which they've been granted, that there will be no further details released about their death. The autopsy findings, the full autopsy findings, will not be released to the public, nor will any body cam vision that was shot by the police or any other photographs that were taken. Now, it's a horrible thing to think that any mainstream media would want those photographs, and they probably wouldn't, to be honest, but there's very tacky ones in Europe. Even if these sort of photographs or vision got released online, that would be terribly upsetting for all the relatives and friends involved that that was made public. So that court order has been granted.
Yeah, that's a good ruling, that one.
Pete, a big name has announced a return to music. Who's that?
Yeah, it's Will Smith. Now, Will Smith has announced today he's bringing out an album, which is coming out in 2 weeks' time, and that album is called Based on a True Story. And, you know, he did bring out some singles last year, which were quite well received in his world of rap music, but he's 56 years old, and 56-year-old people usually don't get into the music charts. He's a little different because he's a long-established name. He's a movie star. It's very easy for someone like him to get publicity and get airplay. So the album will be out in 2 weeks' time. We'll see whether he can regain that place that he had many years ago. You know, it's 20 years now since an album. That's a long time to be out, even though your name has stayed relevant in the news cycle.
Yeah, still on high rotation on my Spotify thing, whatever that's called.
Yeah, that thing.
Spotify?
Yeah.
Spotify thing, that thing. Getting jiggy with it, Wild Wild West, good stuff. The latest episode of the Baldwins has had a moment that's gone viral, Pete.
Yes, well, this has come up a lot through the years. Hilaria Baldwin's accent. Now, it seems to change a bit, and it seems to be Spanish a lot. Now, she has addressed this. She's made it very clear that she's basically a sponge, she's a chameleon, and she doesn't quite understand it herself. But here's how she goes about trying to explain it on the reality TV show.
Growing up in a way where you have multiple cultural influences on you means that you're never going to be able to fit in. You can try, you can chameleon. You know, people who code switch were very good at chameleoning in. And we're like, okay, I'm going to be a little bit, and you're not even thinking about it. It's just normal, it's just natural. They say that it's like communication, like people who, if you ever talk to like a really old person who cannot hear, and you have to like, you notice, you're like, I'm going to emphasize, I'm going to speak slower, and you're not even really thinking about it. You just start to do it. It just happens. No, it just happens. You know what it's called? Code switching. Actually? Code switching, No, it's like a real thing.
So we should all try a bit of code switching and a bit of chameleoning.
Yeah, I do that. Do you do that? I definitely do that.
I do it when I speak to
actually.
you.
Yes.
I slow down and speak more clearly.
Yeah,
But when you go to Guzman and Gomez, you go taco. When you order, I do. I do.
Yeah.
I don't do
No,
that.
there's chameleoning. Thank you, Pete.
Thank you.
Speaking about switching in and out, there are people watching the show, Pete? Her
Very
show?
good response to it.
Okay.
Yeah, no, people are, reality TV shows, when they involve already established famous people, are an easy sell.
Okay, cool.
Pete, we've got to go because we've got to talk more about Swimming Carnival shortly. Thank you.
Yeah, bye.